Welcome back to Talk Room. You know, we've all been there, right? You're in a new city, excited to try the local cuisine, and then bam, the menu hits you.
Like a wall of text.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, please and thank you. Just aren't going to cut it.
It really is a universal experience, though, isn't it? Feeling lost in all those unfamiliar words.
Okay.
Especially when your stomach's rumbling.
Oh, for sure. And that's why we're doing this deep dive.
Become fluent in restaurant English.
Exactly. Go way beyond the basics to actually enjoy the whole dining experience.
Yeah, we've got this awesome guide on ordering food in English.
Okay, awesome.
And let me tell you, I'm already seeing some real gems in here.
Perfect. So let's dive right in.
Sounds good.
First up, vocabulary. Our guide breaks it down by meal types.
Okay.
But honestly, those are pretty straightforward, right? It's when you hit those super specific menu items
Right.
that things get tricky.
Yeah, knowing the difference between like an appetizer versus a side dish,
Yes.
or how to navigate all those different drinks beyond just water or soda. You want to be able to order like a local craft beer or a fancy wine.
Yes, definitely. With confidence.
Exactly.
Speaking of confidence, what about when you want to customize your order? Like, how do you say, hold the onions without sounding super picky?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Knowing a few key phrases can really level up your ordering game.
Okay.
So instead of just saying no onions,
Right.
you could be like, could I please get that without onions?
Wow.
It's a small change,
Yeah.
but it's way more polite.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Or,
What about allergies, though?
ooh,
I know those could be hard to explain, especially if you don't know all the words.
absolutely. You have to be very clear when it comes to allergies.
For sure.
Like super assertive. I have a severe nut allergy. Could you please make sure my dish is completely nut-free?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to repeat yourself or ask them to clarify.
Right.
Your health is the most important thing. So true. Okay, so we've got some basic vocabulary down. We know some polite phrases. But how do we actually sound like a natural English speaker? I'm seeing this term phrasal verbs pop up in our guide.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, those always make me a little nervous.
I totally get it. They can seem intimidating because it's like a verb mixed with a preposition or an adverb,
Okay.
which changes the meaning in weird ways.
Yeah.
But they're everywhere in English, especially when you're talking about food.
So can you give us some examples of how we might use phrasal verbs at a restaurant?
Of course.
Mm.
Let's say you're looking at the menu trying to figure out what you want.
Okay.
You could say, I'm trying to pick out something healthy from the menu. Or if you're feeling adventurous and you want to try a bunch of different things, you could be like, let's order in a bunch of appetizers and try them all out.
I see. So it adds like an extra layer of fluency.
Exactly.
It makes your English more colorful.
Yes. Makes it more dynamic.
And speaking of colorful, let's not forget about idioms.
Oh, yes.
Our guide mentions food idioms are a fun way to add personality. For sure.
What are some of your favorites?
Well, I think we've all bitten off more than we can chew. At some point, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we ordered way too much food.
Yeah.
Or took on a project that was way too big.
Been there? Okay, what about spill the beans? Does that one have anything to do with food?
It does sound messy, right? But it actually means to reveal a secret. Like, come on, spill the beans. What's the surprise?
Okay, that makes sense. Last one. Have a lot on your plate. I feel like I hear that all the time, especially at work.
It's a common way to say that someone is really busy.
Oh, okay.
They have tons of responsibilities. Like, I would love to help, but I have a lot on my plate right now.
So it's like a metaphor.
Exactly. It goes beyond the literal meaning.
This is so interesting. It feels like I'm finally cracking the code of restaurant English. But, learning the phrases is one thing. Actually using them is a whole other story.
Now we practice.
Well, that's where the deep dive gets fun.
Okay.
We're going to walk you through some super common ordering scenarios.
Like making a reservation, asking for recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
even handling those awkward moments when something goes wrong with your order.
Ooh. I'm ready to put my new knowledge to the test. Let's pretend we're at a busy restaurant. Where do we start?
Okay. Okay, so first things first. Before you even walk into the restaurant,
Okay.
especially if it's a popular spot,
Right.
you might want to think about making a reservation.
Okay.
This is where those phone skills really come in handy,
Yes.
Call ahead. Be like, hi, I'd like to make a reservation for 2 people this evening around 7 p.m.
That sounds pretty straightforward. What if they're all booked up, though?
You can always ask to be put on a waiting list.
Right.
Or see if there are any other times available.
Gotcha.
Just being flexible and polite can make all the difference.
So we've got our table.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready to order.
Right.
What are your tips for navigating that interaction with the waiter?
Well, first off, remember, good manners are key. A simple hello and thank you can go a long way.
Yeah.
When you're ready to order, you can just kind of like signal to them.
Right. And be like, we're ready to order when you are.
What about those times when you're just totally overwhelmed by the menu? Is it okay to ask for recommendations?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
In fact, it's a great way to find some hidden gems that you might have missed otherwise.
Oh, okay.
You could say, what would you recommend for someone who likes spicy food?
Right.
Or what's your most popular dish?
I love that. Takes all the pressure off.
Exactly.
Shows you're open to trying new things. But what if something isn't right with your order?
Oh?
Like the steak's overcooked or they forgot your fries?
Yeah, it happens. Mistakes happen.
Right.
Just try to stay calm and be polite.
Yeah.
Just politely get your waiter's attention and be like, excuse me, but I ordered my steak medium rare and this one seems a bit overcooked.
It's all about that balance, right?
Exactly.
Being assertive, but also respectful.
Right.
Our guide also mentions this whole cultural aspect of dining, specifically tipping in the U.S.,
Yes.
which can be so confusing if you're not from here. It definitely is a unique part of American dining culture.
Yeah.
And it's really important to understand the norms.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, a tip of 15 to 20% of the bill is considered standard
Okay.
if the service was good.
I remember when I first visited the U.S., I was so lost about tipping.
Yeah.
Like how much to tip, even when to tip.
Sure.
Is it just for waiters? Or do you tip like bartenders too?
Yeah, you usually tip bartenders as well.
Okay.
Usually like $1 or $2 per drink,
Mm-hmm.
or 15 to 20% of the tab.
Gotcha.
It's worth noting that tipping is also pretty common for other service providers too,
Okay.
like taxi drivers, hairstylists, hotel staff.
Good to know.
Mm.
It seems like ordering in English is about so much more than just the language itself.
It is.
It's all these cultural nuances too.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. And honestly, there's this fascinating connection between food language and culture.
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, just think about it.
Okay.
Every culture has its own special food traditions, right?
Right.
And those traditions are reflected in the language. Yeah.
From the ingredients we use to the way we describe the flavors,
Uh-huh.
food is like a core part of our cultural identity.
Yeah, I've noticed that certain words and phrases about food just don't translate well.
They don't.
It's like they capture a whole cultural experience in just one word.
Exactly. Like the French word terroir.
Okay.
It refers to like the specific environmental factors
Okay.
that affect how a wine tastes.
Wow.
It's a concept that's like deeply ingrained in French winemaking,
Okay.
and it shows how much they appreciate the connection between food, land, and people.
That's beautiful. It really shows how language can capture these like little details of culture
It does.
that are hard to explain otherwise.
Yeah.
That's what makes learning about food in another language so fascinating.
It's a window into a whole new world
Totally.
of flavors, traditions, different ways of seeing things.
And the more we understand those connections,
Yes.
the better our dining experiences become.
I'm already feeling inspired to like step outside my comfort zone and explore those deeper cultural connections.
That's great.
What other insights does our guide offer about this whole food and language connection?
Yeah.
Our guide also mentions how food idioms can like reveal cultural values.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned biting off more than you can chew. Could that show like a culture's emphasis on ambition or even like overconfidence?
Mm. That's a really interesting thought. And I think you might be onto something.
Yeah.
In a lot of Western cultures, there's this big focus on individual achievement,
Right.
Striving for success. So it makes sense that an idiom like biting off more than you can chew would come up
Yeah.
when we get a little too ambitious.
There's a little warning built into the language itself.
Exactly. And it's not just about ambition either.
Okay.
Food idioms can show how cultures think about sharing community, even humor.
Okay.
Think about the phrase potluck dinner.
Oh, yeah. Everyone brings a dish to share.
Right.
It's a mix of different flavors and traditions.
Exactly. It shows that culture values collaboration and enjoying food together.
And then there are the idioms that just add a little fun to our conversations.
Right.
Like spill the beans. It's not really about food.
Nope.
But it uses that image to make things more playful.
It does.
It's amazing how much these phrases can tell us about a culture.
Yeah. Their values, their worldview.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I understand the power of language so much better now,
That's great to hear.
especially when it comes to food and connecting with different cultures.
Absolutely. And remember, the best way to really master restaurant English is to just dive in.
Yeah,
Try new restaurants, talk to people, and don't worry about making mistakes.
I love that. It's all about enjoying the experience.
Exactly, savoring every bite. So
Yeah.
the next time you're looking at an English menu, remember you've got the tools to order with confidence and really connect with the culture.
And listeners, don't forget to subscribe to Talk Room and stay tuned for our next deep dive.
And if you want to brush up on all the vocabulary we talked about today, we've got a keyword list linked in the description.